My friends, we've come to Philadelphia, the birthplace of our nation, because what happened in this city 240 years ago still has something to teach us today. We all know the story, but we usually focus on how it turned out, and not enough on how close that story came to never being written at all. When representatives from 13 unruly colonies met just down the road from here, some wanted to stick with the king, and some wanted to stick it to the king. The revolution hung in the balance. Then somehow they began listening to each other, compromising, finding common purpose. And by the time they left Philadelphia, they had begun to see themselves.
Wow, wow. You know, Star Davis, you made a comment about her wardrobe. The speech was great. Yeah, it was. But she did look presidential, like you said.
She looked very presidential. I thought it was a good wardrobe choice for that night.
So since this video came up, before we get to Bloomberg, Michelle Obama, and President Obama, let's talk about that speech. I know we didn't see all of it, but you know, she talked about change, what she would do. She did make reference to Donald Trump. You know, her speech wasn't just negative like he was. So let's talk about that. What do you all think about the speech?
I think her whole, even the video leading up to her speech, really emphasized how much she's dedicated her life to service, to fighting for children, and to really making this country a better place. But also, she has the know-how of how to change policy and how to implement these different changes in the laws and things like that. Even other people, Tim Kaine, you can go to her website and she spells out everything about how she's going to do. What I do have an issue with, and this is with everybody, is that people hinted at, you know, we want to make this country better for everyone and help, you know, those that are discriminated against and confront racism. But I really didn't hear what I wanted to hear. Bernie Sanders spelled it out that we have a serious problem. And I think a lot of the candidates were scared to really underline that and to speak to it.
Okay, Terere, you just got here. I know Terere Randall, she's been on the show before, returning guest. She's the editor of, fashion style editor of Ocean Style magazine. You know, I just know that you came from a carnival. Yes. That's why you got here. She's a carnival chaser, so she likes to go to the carnival. One day, next time you come, you'll bring a picture of your flamboyant outfit. Yes. So what do you have to say?
I mean, you know, what I found interesting about the convention, I mean, I didn't watch it in real time. I looked at a lot of the speeches, you know, after the fact, was really the interesting change in how the Democrats have now been the one to sort of preach American exceptionalism and, you know, to talk, you know, about patriotism and pride in the country in a way that used to really be the domain of the Republican Party. And it's sort of flip-flopped. And, you know, there were some very interesting tweets from members of the Republican Party that came out, and, you know, they talked about watching it like it was the Twilight Zone. Because, you know, here it was, the Democrats were talking about being patriotic and love of country and all this other stuff, and, you know,
so you're saying that they didn't do that before, or in probably the 60s and 70s?
Not in the way where, if you're looking at it to contrast it against the debacle that was the Republican National Convention, where it was completely fear-based, you know, and one person said, well, you know, the Republican National Convention had nothing to offer unless you were a fan of Donald Trump. Like, there wasn't much else in it, you know, and so it was very interesting reading some of those comments. comments. There were a lot of them.
Right.
You know, one was a guy who was a former Ronald Reagan speechwriter, and he said, you know, Barack Obama's speech sounded very much like the type of speech Reagan would have.
Some efficiency for criticism because of what Mrs. Trump did. But what about the speech, her speech, Hillary Clinton's speech?
Well, you know, they weren't saying that in a negative way, though. They weren't trying to say that he copied it. What they were trying to say was that, like, it sounds very much like that, and, you know, too bad our party kind of couldn't latch onto it, you know? I mean, what I found interesting is you hear the Republicans talking about fighting against terrorism and all this other stuff, national security, and yet they couldn't stop this megalomaniac from hijacking their own party.
Okay.
You know?
But what did you say? What were you going to say?
I don't even remember. No, actually, you had asked about Hillary's speech. I don't think, you know, we're used to 8 years of Barack Obama, of President Obama being such a wonderful orator and speech maker. I don't think Hillary is that strong of a speech maker, but I thought her message was on point.
Right.
I really like that she acknowledged Bernie Sanders and his supporters, and I'm very grateful for him being in this race because that forced her to bring her platform a little bit more to the left,
Yep, I agree.
much more to the left than it would have been had he not really given her a run for her money. I also like too that she mentioned fixing the criminal justice system, which I think she had a part in breaking.
Right.
So I like that she acknowledged that.
Yeah, okay.
I also, you know, of course, my favorite line, and I put it on Facebook with a big picture, you know, if you can bait him, if you can bait a man, if a man can be baited with a tweet, then he cannot be trusted with nuclear weapons. That was definitely the drop the mic. That was definitely the drop the mic moment as far as I was concerned. But I was, you know, really overall, I was pleased with the convention. I thought they did a wonderful job of turning us Bernie Sanders supporters and showing us what Hillary might have to offer. And like I said again, I want to look and see now what she's got, what she's going to do.
Please call in 212-757-1393. What did you think about the Democratic National Convention and also Hillary Clinton's speech? Let's talk about Michelle Obama's speech. One thing that moved me out, everything that she said during that Wednesday night was she said that I wake up every day in a house that was built by slaves.
Okay, I got so much flack over that on Facebook. The truth of the matter was slaves built the bulk of it, but white friends I had to make sure to hurry up and tell me, oh, but they didn't build all of it, they didn't build all of it. So I actually went on the White House historical site and looked, and there was a big recruitment effort in Europe. And it wasn't really, nobody was really enthusiastic about it. So that's when they brought in the enslaved Africans and free Africans to do the bulk of the work. But some of the work after, you know, the rock cutting and the quarries and the difficult part, some of the building was also done by Europeans.
Okay.
I found out from their site. So, but it does say that enslaved Africans and free African Americans also were brought in to do the bulk.
The bulk
of it.
And I believe the artwork also.
So I didn't read on the artwork, but I did go to the White House historical site to check that out.
That's really sad that we're still having to discuss. Well, the slaves built the White House. Well, no, there was some white people that built it too.
I agree.
It's really it's amazing that we won't and can't get over race because race is so embedded in this society. And really, just like you said, the criminal justice system. I was reading The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander, which is an amazing read. And she was saying that Bill Clinton really was the key figure.
Decimated.
This get tough on crime and all of these laws and
decimated the African American community.
It destroyed us, and we're still feeling the effects of it. But we're spoon-fed what we see you know, at the Democratic convention, oh, look at Hillary, and she's so great, and the party's so great, and everybody wants to love and hug each other. Let's talk about policy and get to the nitty gritty of what's hurting our community.
But
and
did she do that? Do you think she did that during her speech? She did address those things.
I did like
she
at
did
least
talk
she,
about the change
she
and all
referenced
that.
it.
She referenced
I like
it.
that she referenced it. She couldn't get into it in great detail,
Right.
but I do like that she acknowledged it, she referenced it, and I think that is specifically because of Bernie Sanders having been in the race and making her
And that's what I
acknowledge
meant when I said when he was sitting there one time doing this, I'm going to ride you women. But I was thinking, I'm watching you, and I'm not finished. That's what I got when I saw him. That's what I saw. Let's talk about did anybody else have any other comments about Michelle Obama's speech? I was surprised.
Other than she was beautiful and wonderful.
She was wonderful, beautiful.
Let me just say
such
this.
a classy First Lady.
Shout out to the First Lady. Look, America, Michelle wears weaves also. Okay, let's just get it out of your mind, get it out of your head, because people want to talk about me because I wear weaves. The First Lady wears weaves. That was a weave. It looked good. Sometimes she wears her real hair, but she wears pieces too.
Yeah,
let's
she
give
looked
her
good.
credit.
But whose business is that?
People want to talk. This is people want to talk about every little minutia of everybody's life.
I don't give them the satisfaction.
So let's talk about Bloomberg. I was so surprised when
he
said that I was born and raised in New York City, and I know a con artist
when I see one.
Yes.
I was like, I almost fell off the chair.
I loved it.
So, you know, Trump had to come back. Oh, he wanted to follow
little Michael.
Little Michael.
What did he say?
He just said that.
No, what does he ever say?
Mike. He just started insulting
What
him.
does he ever say? He never says
what was the
anything.
tweet? I missed it.
It just
No, it
started
was a
off
tweet.
with Little
He came
Michael,
out.
and then
He said-
afterwards, was it worth reading after that?
I just mean he said, let me tell you about a man, a little man, little Michael. And I blacked out after that.
I don't black out like that because their whole show's dedicated to people roasting each other. So when two billionaires start throwing the dozens at each other, I'm paying attention. That type of thing excites me.
I mean, here's the thing, though. You know, Donald Trump is so not in the class with Michael Bloomberg. I mean, in terms of net worth, I mean, he's nowhere near it. You know, it's remarkable that you have someone who, and the great thing about Bloomberg's speech, I thought, was the fact that, you know, he didn't come out and sing the praises of Hillary in the sense that, you know, she's just like this great person. His thing was, for now, at this time, considering what we're up against,
we have to go with her.
Exactly, and that's how a lot of people feel. And he nailed that, you know, as an independent, as someone who can speak from, you know, being on both sides of the aisle at some point, you know. And you know, he also talked about the fact that, you know, Donald Trump is not self-made, and it's actually kind of amazing that you have so many poor white Americans or working class white Americans who are such fans of his, considering he's like not in touch with, you know, their issues at all.
You know what really was really amazing? Obama's speech. The passage that he said that she's more qualified than me and Bill, that she'll make a perfect president.
I believe him because she was First Lady. She's up close, firsthand, seeing the day-to-day and what it takes to push things through. She was a senator, you know, so she knows what it takes to, you know, push things through. Secretary of State, she's had a lot more positions than either of them. And, you know, she has the guts and the tenacity. I was not a Hillary Clinton fan. That speech that she gave really turned me around, and she hinted at Bill Clinton's infidelity. At least I thought she did.
Oh, really?
Because she said, I've been knocked down. I've been knocked down, and I've had my moments, but I get up. I get up, and I do what I have to do. And I thought that was a reference to that particular situation.
Wow, yeah. 212-757-1393. 212-757-1393. We have a phone call. Caller, you watching Sister Talk TV show. What's your name? Where you calling from? And what do you have to say? Caller?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hi, how you doing?
I'm excellent, ma'am, and I see that you sisters are.
Oh,
and
thank
you're
you.
Right on the mark,
Thank
which is
you.
usual. I call often. I've been out of town.
Oh,
But
what's
the
your...
Clintons were not only very important and large in the mass incarceration in the Three Stripes You're Out.
Yeah.
They came in almost like a team. If you notice, Giuliani and those did the social promotions. The social promotion meant if I got left back in the 4th grade, they'd automatically move me to the 5th,
Yes.
right on to a college level.
Right.
And I wouldn't know my elbow from my kneecap. And those people would be left out in the street into crack cocaine. There was only 10 prisons when this began to happen. Now you have 73 prisons in New York State alone.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. Wow. That's something.
Yeah, 73. It was 10 prisons, and with crack cocaine, social promotion, when the 3 strikes you out,
Yeah.
now you have 73 prisons.
Let
and
me
they're
ask
belly
you
to belly.
something. If
They
you
are
go and ask
full,
you,
standing room only.
let me ask you something. So, are you supporting the Clintons, or even though you know of their history?
Oh, I couldn't do that. That means you're deaf, dumb, and blind.
Okay.
We're trying to get a third party for melanated people called the Justice Party.
But do you think that's realistic, though? Do you think that?
Yes, it is. We don't have no choice now. They're murdering us on TV and getting away with it. You watch the murder. You watch it from the police officers that commits the murder, and you watch it from the dash cam, and they walk.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going back into apartheid. We're not going into apartheid. We're in
Okay.
apartheid now.
All right.
And the bad part about it, we are mentally dead.
All right. All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. We have one more phone call. Carl, you watch the SISTAH TV show. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Darrell Downing.
Hi. Turn your TV down, please, sir.
Excuse me?
Can you turn your TV down? We
I
hear.
can certainly do that.
Thank you very much.
Let me just do that real quickly. How about that?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, my name is Darrell Downing. It's my first time calling in. Kim went to Moran, sent me an email and I should watch you guys.
Okay. Well, thank
The
you.
viewer.
So, what do you have to say?
Well, you guys are really interesting, very knowledgeable, and I intend to become a regular listener.
Sure.
As far as the comments on the speeches at the Democratic National Convention, one of the things that the president said that just caught me because he's so smooth. I mean, my God.
Smooth.
Smooth. Speaking, and everybody started booing, and he just said, "Don't boo, vote."
Right.
And so it just tickled me pink because all of these people who complain, don't complain, do something. And he did it in such a way, it just brought out the style that he's always exhibited. And that's about all I have to say. I'm going to continue listening to you ladies because
Well,
you're very interesting.
Can I ask this caller something? Are you supporting Hillary Clinton? I guess he hung up. I know the first one said we'd have to be deaf, dumb, and blind to support Hillary. And I understand how people can feel that way, but I don't think there's enough time to establish a third party for this election.
That's why I was asking, was that realistic?
Is my problem. Now, after 4 years, if Hillary doesn't do right, then, you know, and even during those 4 years, I can definitely see the establishment of a third party. But I don't know if there's enough time to really galvanize people, get them together, and have somebody who, you know, by November, a really established candidate for a third party.
I want to ask you all this. Why are there a lot of Bernie supporters that are not switching over to Hillary?
They're
It
upset.
seemed like it.
Yeah.
They're
Seemed like a lot
upset.
of people were upset, especially when the email leak came out that the chairman
the DNC.
that they favored Hillary, which is not surprising to me.
But was there proof that they sabotaged?
Yes.
There is proof.
Yes.
Okay.
There was proof that they heavily favored Hillary Clinton.
Okay, that they heavily favored her. Okay. I'm just saying, is there any proof that they sabotaged Bernie Sanders' campaign?
Well, I don't know if the sabotage would be it. I think it would be a bias and a leaning towards Hillary and kind of.
And if anything, they made it easier for her campaign. So Debbie Wasserman Schultz said straight out, Bernie Sanders is not going to be president. That certainly was not her decision to make. I can't say if she sabotaged his campaign, but she certainly made it easier for Hillary's
The
campaign.
media was a part of that. I mean, you know, they were not covering him when he had, you know, throngs of people supporting him, and you know, they didn't play fairly with the candidates. You know, they covered the two parties.
So these Bernie Sanders, to me, you know, forgive me, but it seems like, you know, they're pouting and say, F it. We're not going to do anything. We're not going to vote. You know, we still write his name in there, but they're leading the way for somebody who they really don't feel, the people really don't feel that is qualified to be president.
I think Hillary is brilliant. I think she can certainly do the job, but I think people, myself included, are angry. This is the first generation where we are expected to do worse than our parents did in the generation before. This is a generation where we are working longer hours and seeing less by way of pay, by way of benefits. Everything is all about corporate profits now, and Bernie Sanders was the one to really stand up there and say, wait a second, it's not all about corporate profits, and it's not all about the wealthy. The 1% do have everything, but wait a second, people should be able to work for a minimum of $15 an hour.
So how can,
among the many other things that he said.
Okay, all right. So there is still a big chance that Trump can win if they don't get, you don't think so?
I think it's a big chance. You know, I think the media really is drumming up a lot of that sort of tension because it's great news for them, and that's why they, you know, keep sort of going back and forth with these ridiculous third-grade tweets that he puts out, and he's going to punch this person in the face, and he's going to do such and such with the next person. And I mean, like, he's ridiculous, right? He's absolutely absurd. But, you know, I'm hoping that the few people, or however many they are, that they have a change of heart. But you know, again, if you looked at the past couple of election cycles, you know, they always made it seem like it was very close. I mean, I remember the first time that McCain ran against Obama and he got trounced, you know, but if you were listening to everything leading up to it, you know, you had no idea that Barack Obama was going to win by that large a margin. So I feel like it's hard to tell.
Paulie watches this Talk TV show. What's your name? Where you calling from? What you got to say?
Hi, how are you, lady?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. You got to turn up the volume.
I watch your show whenever I get a chance to, and I feel so honored that I get to listen to you today because the subject matter is really, really good.
Right, thank you.
I love that goddess actress. She was wonderful. She's spiritual. I just wish she looked at the camera a little bit more.
Oh, well, you know, hey, you know, she was looking at the audience.
Oh, you have an audience there.
But she was great. She was great.
I kept on saying, look at me, look at me. Anyway.
Okay, so what's your question?
Be aware. I wanted to comment. There are two streams of thought running through the human race. It's called monotheism, which is one God, creator, polytheism, many gods. The twain shall never meet. The polytheistic thinkers want to make their own reality, their own humanity. They want to take your God, your monotheism, and do away with it. That monotheism is what helps a lot of people that suffer throughout the world, that God, that one God. So don't you understand what they're doing? They're making you white. They want you to become like them.
Yeah,
they
you're
will
right.
never be like you.
Right.
And when you realize that, and it's coming in generations and generations, we'll see where it ends up.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that comment. That was great. We have one more phone call. Caller, you watch this Talk TV show. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I am calling from Manhattan. My name is Pauline. Hello?
Yes. What's your name again?
Pauline.
Pauline. Hi, Pauline. Thanks for calling.
You're welcome. The point I would like to make, I would like to ask this question, right? If you're Democratic and I'm running for you and your sister, right? And your sister does not make it to the poll like Bernie. I like Bernie and I like Clinton, Mrs. Clinton, right?
Yes.
And then because Mrs. Clinton gets more votes more than Bernie, Bernie's a good guy. Like I said, I like both. Why would you back down and say, okay, I'm not going to vote for Mrs. Clinton because Bernie Sanders so insulted and was passing bad judgment against Mrs. Clinton? If you understand where I'm coming from.
You understand?
If you're a Democrat, why can't you, step over to the other side more than saying, okay, I'm going to
I can answer
Okay,
that.
stay on the phone call.
If I'm understanding you correctly, you're not understanding why Bernie Sanders supporters are not voting for Hillary Clinton. Is that right?
Right, sweetie, right. Because I'm saying, right, we all see the direction that the country is going. We all see it.
Right.
Many of us from, different places and come here, we want the best for everyone. All of us, right?
Okay.
What's going
Okay.
on, why?
All right, let her answer. Okay, thank you, caller.
I can understand what you're saying. was and still am in many ways a very staunch Bernie Sanders supporter. I was very disappointed that he is not our nominee. I understand both sides. I understand how supporters we're angry, and establishment politics has not helped many of us get a job, has not helped many of us to advance in our socioeconomic circles. So because of that, I think a lot of us are really angry. However, I personally have said that I will vote for Hillary Clinton, and I believe a lot of other Bernie Sanders supporters also will vote for her.
Okay.
It's, you know, it's just
right.
kind of, with the rigging,
Right.
the process being rigged, and nobody really being made accountable for that, and somehow I
you
understand
have one
how
more.
people are angry.
There is a large segment of the American people that believe that serious change, almost revolutionary change of our system, needs to take place for certain people to feel justice. And putting perfume on a pig is not going to work.
I thought it was lipstick, but go ahead.
Lipstick, perfume, pearls, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And a lot of people look at Hillary Clinton, hey, she took $200,000 from Goldman Sachs. She's in bed with Wall Street, with the bankers. And so how is this person going to represent me and stand up for my rights and say, you know what, you're not going to send out bad loans out there and loan shark and discriminate upon. We need fundamental changes, and this is what Bernie supporters stood for. And to see him, you know, lose.
But her question was, why wouldn't we vote for Hillary now that she is the nominee?
We're going to give you a last, we're gonna give you a last word, Terry.
Yeah, no, I had a very similar conversation. You know, someone sort of came after me on my Facebook page. You know, we were having this discussion, and I had already said, you know, I would vote for her, but, you know, begrudgingly, honestly, you know, because the
I have to
truth
hold
is,
my nose.
I mean, the truth is, you know, there was a reason why Bernie did not take corporate money in his campaign. You know, there's a reason why he wanted to be, you know, like a complete grassroots level effort.
And what's the
and all
reason?
that, you know, because he wanted to show that his interests wasn't being supported and that he wasn't representing these corporate interests who really control, you know, the election and, you know, who are the people who are really making the decisions about what happens.
Okay,
you know,
we're going to have to close the show, as always. Time always flies through. But hey, I want to thank the Executive Director, Zaki, Z-Star Man. I want to thank Jovan, the sound man, the telephone man, Tonya Edmonds. I want to thank her. And also, Kyle. I want to thank him. Hey, as always, thank you for watching Sister Talk TV show. We are always live. I'm your host, Deetra Kelsey, and as always, I'm wishing you peace, love, and stay in the light.